Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the classic books that I want to read in 2022. But before we go ahead and get on into the list, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways. So I have 7 classics on here. I haven't really planned out my 2022 reading because I think that's really hard to do, but I figured I would try and read a classic every other month or spread a classic over like 2 months because I don't think I'm going to be able to read one every month. No, I know I'm not going to be able to read one every month. So that's why I have 7 on this list, 6 that I for sure want to get to, and then like 1 extra in case I can fit it in. Now, this is a very interesting list because I was literally looking on my bookshelves at the books that I hadn't read, and it's an odd list, and you'll see what I mean. Now, the first book is classic sci-fi, and yes, I did include it on here because it is a classic, and I have read this year, 2021, I think 3 classic sci-fis, and I still have not read any Arthur C. Clarke. So he is someone that I want to get to in 2022, and I'm going to start with Childhood's End because I've heard that this is a great place to start with Arthur C. Clarke. It's really, really good, and I think this is the first book in a series. This is a classic sci-fi novel that follows these beings known as the Overlords, and one day they just appeared over Earth, and they are superior to humans in every way, intellectually, technologically, etc. And they actually were not violent towards humanity. They actually were able to create peace among everybody on Earth. And they have been ruling over Earth for a long time now, but because there has been peace, there has been sort of like this malaise that has settled over mankind, and man no longer has any motivation, no longer struggles for greatness. And we find out that if you resist the overlords, that they actually do have an agenda of their own. So I'm super excited to start my Arthur C. Clarke journey, and a lot of people have recommended this book to me, so I definitely have to start out 2022 with a classic sci-fi. The next is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and that has an unknown author, and this one was translated by J.R.R. Tolkien. There are two other stories in this book. I might read them. I mean, the whole thing's only 200 pages, but Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is a narrative poem, so it is all written in verse, and it is an Arthurian story. It follows a knight who is part of Arthur's Round Table, and one day this mysterious Green Knight comes in. Sir Gawain beheads the Green Knight, and the Green Knight stands up completely alive, grabs his head, and tells him that he has 1 year to prepare before they fight again, and whatever blow Gawain did to the Green Knight, he will do in return. So we follow the story of Sir Gawain. So I saw the movie adaptation that came out in 2021, and I actually really enjoyed it, which is bizarre because most people did not like it. It did not get good reviews, and I really liked it. So now I want to read the poem to see like the similarities and that kind of thing. So I added this to my TBR like a couple days ago. I'm like, I think I'm going to go ahead and knock Sir Gawain and Green Knight out. The next book is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a book that I want to read like in the fall time around Halloween because it is a ghost story. I personally have never read anything by this author, and I don't know anyone else that has read this book, and it is a chunker. It's quite large. So I think this is a book that I'll have to like spread over a couple of months in the fall season. But in this book, we follow a painter, and one day he encounters this ghostly woman in white. This woman in white is trying to tell our painter this dark, dark secret, but he is having trouble deciphering it. The next day, as he is drawing a girl named Laura, he recounts these events to her and her sister, and the 3 of them decide to investigate who this woman in white is, how she died, what's going on with her, and what secret she might be trying to tell them. And that just sounds so interesting. Like, it sounds so good. It sounds just like a classic ghost story that is perfect to read in the fall season. So I think this one I'm definitely going to try and get to. Like I said, I might have to read it over a couple months because it was written in the 1860s, and sometimes that older language can take me longer to read, but I'm very excited for this one. The next book is more of a modern classic because it was written in 1988, but I did want to include it on this list, and that is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I've had this book for a while and still have not read it, so I figured 2021 was the year, and it's super short. It can be read in like one sitting. And this book was originally written in Portuguese and was eventually translated into English. The Alchemist, as far as I know, follows the story of a young shepherd who has this strange reoccurring dream. So he brings his concerns to this gypsy type woman, and she basically tells him it's prophetic and that he needs to travel to Egypt because he will find some sort of fortune or destiny in the Egyptian pyramids. So I guess this is like a journey type book, but I think it's probably very allegorical for life's journey. I'm not really sure. I'm excited to finally be reading this to see what all the buzz is about and kind of dig into those deeper meanings of the story. The next book is King Lear by William Shakespeare. I said I wanted to read King Lear because I just hauled the Queens of Venice Lear by Tessa Gratton, and I said that I wanted to read the play before I read the book, and I still want to. I know a lot of people say that plays are meant to be seen, not read, but like Shakespeare's prose is just so pretty. Like I really enjoy reading it. Not only that, but when I watch movies, I put the subtitles on anyway, even if I can hear, because I just prefer to read. I have a big compilation of William Shakespeare's works, so I will be reading King Lear out of that. But as far as I know, the story follows a British king, King Lear, who gives away his land to his 3 daughters, and he essentially starts to go insane and starts dabbling into like the politics of the 3 different sisters and how they are governing and just kind of disrupting political machinations. And as far as I know, it's a tragedy. So I'm really interested to read the original before going on into the Queens of Venice Lear. Next, I want to continue with my read through of the Sherlock Holmes books. I have this entire collection of the Sherlock Holmes novels, and I have read A Study in Scarlet and The Sign of the Four. So the next book I need to read is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to put this down because it's very heavy. But I really liked the first 2 books that I read. I love Sherlock Holmes as a character, and I just love his reasoning and the way that he solves crimes. They were just so fun. The first 2 books were just so fun to read, and they're not very long. So I feel like continuing with my read through of his works will be very doable. So I do plan on reading the 3rd Sherlock Holmes book at some point in 2022. And the last book, if I can get to it, will be A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. This is one of the Dickens works that I have wanted to read for the longest time. I know that it is one of his more popular, like historical fiction works, and it takes place against the backdrop of the French Revolution. And I've also heard this book described kind of like as an action adventure type story because all of the characters are constantly running for their lives because they're being threatened with imprisonment or death. And I don't think I've ever read a book that took place against the backdrop of the French Revolution and kind of brought in those historical elements of that time period. So that's kind of what drew my attention. And I also have like a compilation of a couple of Charles Dickens books, and that's one of them that's in there. So I just figured it was about high time for me to read A Tale of Two Cities. All right, you guys, that is it for the classic books that I want to read in 2022. Let me know some classics you would like to read, or if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. And I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye. Thank you.